What if the love of your life wasn't just someone you met, but someone fate kept bringing back, no matter how many times you lost them? Before we begin, if you believe in once-in-a-lifetime love stories, hit subscribe right now, because this story will stay with you long after it ends. Italian love songs and timeless 1960s romance. The summer of 1963 arrived softly along the Amalfi Coast, like a whispered promise carried by the sea breeze, warm and fragrant with lemon groves and salt air. The village of Positano shimmered under the golden sun, its pastel houses stacked like a painter's dream against the cliffs, and below, the waves lapped endlessly against the shore as if time itself had slowed just to admire the beauty of it all. Elena Moretti had lived her entire life in that village, yet every morning felt like a new beginning. She would open the shutters of her small room, letting sunlight spill across the tiled floor, and listen to the distant melody of fishermen calling out across the harbor. Her father owned a modest cafe overlooking the sea, and Elena spent her days there, serving espresso and pastries to tourists, though her heart quietly longed for something more, something she couldn't quite name. It was on a late afternoon, when the sky burned with shades of amber and rose, that everything changed. A stranger arrived. His name was Luca Bellini. He stepped into the cafe with a quiet confidence, dressed simply but carrying an air that suggested he had seen far more of the world than most men his age. His dark hair was tousled by the wind, and his eyes, deep, searching, almost haunted, seemed to hold stories he hadn't yet spoken aloud. Elena noticed him immediately, though she pretended not to. "Un café, per favor," he said, his voice calm, warm. When she placed the cup before him, their fingers brushed for the briefest moment. And in that instant, something shifted. Neither of them spoke of it, but both felt it, a strange, unexplainable familiarity, as though they had met before in another life, another time, another dream. Luca stayed in the village longer than anyone expected. Days turned into weeks, and he became a quiet presence in Elena's life. He would sit at the same table each afternoon, sketching in a worn notebook, occasionally glancing up at the sea, or at her. One evening, as the sun dipped low and music drifted from a nearby radio, a soft Italian love song echoing through the air, he finally spoke more than a few words. "Do you ever feel," Luca began, "like you're waiting for something, even if you don't know what it is?" Elena smiled faintly. "All the time." That night, they walked along the shoreline, barefoot in the cool sand, the waves brushing against their feet. They talked about everything and nothing, dreams, fears, the places Luca had traveled, and the ones Elena had only imagined. And when he took her hand, it felt as natural as breathing. Their love grew quietly but intensely, like a flame sheltered from the wind. They danced under starlit skies, shared stolen kisses behind the cafe, and spent long afternoons lying on sun-warmed rocks, listening to the endless rhythm of the sea. But love, as beautiful as it is, rarely comes without shadows. One morning, a letter arrived. Elena found Luca sitting alone, staring at it as though it carried the weight of the world. "I have to leave," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Her heart sank. For how long? He hesitated. "I don't know." It wasn't until later that she learned the truth. Luca wasn't just a traveler. He was running from a past he had tried to escape, a past tied to family obligations, expectations, and a life he had never truly chosen. "I didn't come here looking for love," he told her, his eyes filled with conflict. "But I found you. And now you're leaving," she replied, her voice breaking. "I have to," he said. "But I swear to you, Elena, this isn't the end." Promises are easy to make under a sunset. Harder to keep in the real world. The day he left, the entire village seemed quieter. The waves felt colder. The songs on the radio no longer carried the same sweetness. Elena waited. Days turned into months. Then years. Letters came at first, filled with longing, with hope, with declarations of love that felt almost too beautiful to be real. But over time, they grew less frequent, until they stopped altogether. Life moved on, as it always does. Elena continued working at the cafe, her smile softer now, her laughter more distant. Suitors came and went, but none could reach the part of her heart that still belonged to Luca. And yet, she never stopped believing. Then, one evening, nearly 10 years later, as the sky once again burned with that same familiar glow, a figure appeared at the edge of the cafe. Older, worn, but unmistakable. Luca. Time seemed to freeze as their eyes met. You came back, she whispered. I never stopped trying to, he replied. He told her everything, the struggles, the sacrifices, the reasons he had disappeared. He spoke of regret, of mistakes, of the countless nights he had replayed their memories, wishing he had chosen differently. I was a coward, he admitted. I let the world pull me away from the only thing that ever felt real. Elena listened in silence, her heart torn between the past and the present. Why now? She finally asked. Because I realized something, Luca said, stepping closer. No matter how far I go, no matter how much time passes, it always leads me back to you. Love, when it's real, doesn't fade. It waits. And in that moment, standing beneath the same sky where it all began, Elena made a choice. Not based on who they were, but on who they had become. She stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears and hope. Ti amo, she said softly. Luca smiled, the weight of years lifting from his shoulders. Amore mio, he replied. And as the waves continued their endless dance against the shore, and the music drifted once more through the warm evening air, their story began again, not as it once was, but as something deeper, stronger, and unbreakable. Because some love stories are never truly over.